Now, after I left the camera on the tripod, I didn't move it at all. I only moved the brad. So there's one brad on a bridge, another brad, another brad jumping up in the air. So I shot a bunch of brads, never moved the tripod, never moved the camera. I think I got seven brads, all right?
We like them all.
We like it. So there's our brads, and there's the bridge without any brads. The goal here is to get all 7 brads on the bridge at the same time. All right, that's going to be our first basic composite. So to do that, we start with Photoshop. And I got to get all 7 images into Photoshop. I could load them all one by one. I could copy and paste them onto different layers. I could do it the long, hard way, or I can do it the automated way that Photoshop gives me. So the fastest way to do this is to click on File, Scripts, and the script in here is called Load Files into Stack. We want a stack of 7 brads. So we're going to say Load Files into the stack. And there's our 7 brads and the bridge. I'm going to select all of them and hit OK. Now, if your camera has slipped at all and the alignment might be a little bit off, you can click Attempt to Align the images, and Photoshop will fix the alignment for you. In my case, the camera didn't slip, everything's fine, so I'm going to leave that off. I'm just going to click OK. And Script is going to stack all the 7 brads and the bridge into one Photoshop document. And there it goes, real simple. So that's a fast way to get them all in there, is just use the script. Now, they've come out in the reverse order of what I shot them, so I'm just going to switch it around real quick so I kind of build it as I shot it. We're going to put the brad 1 down at the bottom.
Brad's having fun.
So, I got the bridge on the bottom, right? Let me turn off all these, like, you know,
Hey, Brad, did you change for every photo?
I put on a different hat and a different
Jacket.
There are 2 with the same shirt.
So I always take a base image of only the subject, like the bridge. I could start with only a brad on a bridge, like I could have started with that. But if I do that, I'm stuck with at least 1 brad on a bridge. And I may not want a brad on a bridge at that exact spot, right? So if I start with only the bridge, I've always got the whole kind of canvas to work with. I'm not stuck with anything. So I take a photo of just the bridge, no brad at all. So when I turn on layer 1, we have brad 1 on a bridge, okay? If I turn on brad 2, there's brad 2 on the bridge, but it covers up brad 1, right? I need to get both brads on the bridge at the same time. And to do that, we need to make a thing called a layer mask. Layer mask is kind of the basis of compositing. Layer mask and blending modes. We'll talk about blending modes if we get to it tonight, but layer mask for now is kind of the fundamental basics of compositing. I need to see down to layer 1. I'm on layer 2 right now with this brad. I can turn this brad on and off. I need to see back down to the first layer, okay? So to do that, you make a thing called a layer mask. And that's the little thing right down here, this little square white circle with a black dot. That's a layer mask, add layer mask. So when I click that, it puts a little white window next to it. And so far it's done nothing. You can think of a layer mask as, it's kind of like a window, like a blind. If the blinds are up, I'm seeing everything on the layer. I'm kind of seeing through to everything on this layer, okay? If I were to turn this black, there's 2 ways to do that. I can hit Edit, Fill, Foreground Color. I can turn that black. That's hid the whole layer. So when it's white, I can also just do Control I for inverting the mask. Control I, it's white. I see the layer. If If I make it black, I don't see the layer. So white shows the layer, black hides the layer. White reveals, black conceals. White reveals, black conceals, okay? So, if I put black and white on the layer mask, I can show part of the layer, not show part of the layer, okay? So, in this case, we're gonna turn it back to white. And again, I can do Control I, just invert it back and forth. It goes white, black, every time I invert it. So it's back to white. And what I could do is I could make it black and start revealing the brad over here. The problem is I can't see the brad over here. I'd have to paint this randomly until I find that brad. So instead, I'm gonna leave it white. And I grab my brush. And make sure your layer mask is selected. Make sure the layer is not selected, but the mask right there is selected, okay? And so black conceals, right? So I'm gonna conceal that brad. And all I have to do is paint over this brad with my opacity, my flow at 100%. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. The flow's at 100%. And so I'm simply gonna paint that brad out, okay? Now when I did that, the bridge under that brad appeared again, right? The bridge is still there. Why? Why is the bridge still showing? Why didn't I get like transparency? I'm seeing the bridge of the underlying layer. I'm peeping through the mask to what's underlying the layer. The same bridge is on the lower layer. So I'm peeping through to the bridge without the brad there. So I've got the whole bridge. Now, what I've done here is the exact opposite of what I want. I concealed the brad, right? He's gone. And what I really wanted to do is reveal that brad and conceal the bridge. So I've done the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. Now to fix that, all I have to do is go to the layer mask, hit Control I for convert, so the white is gonna become black and the black's gonna become white. And when I do that, I got two brads on a bridge, okay? I'm peeping right down, the whole entire layer is being hidden except for that brad that I painted in.
Hey Brad,
Yeah.
I think this is extremely interesting, right? But if most of these people are like being here,
Turn on layer 3, right? Layer 3 has no mask on it at all yet, so we're just seeing layer 3. It's covering up everything. There's no mask here, so we're seeing one brad jumping on a bridge, okay? When I press the layer mask button, it puts in, oops, let's make sure I'm on the right layer. It puts in a white square, okay? And again, you can think of it like a window. When I have the blinds up, I can see everything on the layer, okay? If I have the blinds down, it blocks everything on the layer. So it's white right now. I can see that brad jumping on a bridge. If I hit Control I to invert it, it turns black. It blocks that layer. I open the window, I open the blinds, I close the blinds. I can either see the layer or not see the layer. So I just toggle back and forth. I see it, I don't see it, I see it, I don't see it, I see it, I don't see it. It's just hiding what's on the layer. It's either hiding or showing what's on the layer. That's all it's doing. Real simple. If I paint another color on the mask, it has to be white. If I paint white onto the mask, I'm peeping down through that area to the lower layer. So white reveals what's below the layer. Black conceals, white reveals. If you remember that, black conceals, white reveals, right? So to see down to the next layer, I have to paint white. So I need to reveal something. Okay, so let's take this jumping brad here. Let's make this white. Okay. Now again, to paint that brad out, I have to see where the brad is. I don't really want to conceal the brad, I want to reveal the brad ultimately. But I first have to conceal the brad because I need to see the brad, to hide the brads, okay? So we're gonna grab a black brush. Now, this layer mask is selected. I'm gonna paint right on the mask. And I'm just gonna paint right over the brad. And now we're peeping down to the layer below. So we're seeing just the bridge. The brad is gone, okay? If I hold on the Alt key and I click on the mask, you can see the mask I drew. That black is hiding the brad, okay? White is showing all the underlying layer, the black is hiding the brad, okay? and then alt click off of that.
So go on top of each other, right, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I want to flip this around now, I want to reveal the bread and hide everything else. What do? I'm on the mask. What key do I hit to switch my mask from, rather than, mostly white, I want it mostly black. What key do I press? Control I, that's correct. I press Control I, it inverts the mask. I got 3 breads on a bridge. Now we're gonna do it 4 more times, so it really shines through here.
Okay, can you do me a favor? Can you show me the brush that you're using?
Yeah,
Like, and where you're getting it from and,
the palette over here, there's the standard brush right here.
okay,
Mine's a circle right now. If you wanna make it bigger, there's a
Right.
keyboard shortcut, it's just the right bracket key. I can bracket, 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 I can make the brush bigger. I can left bracket, I can make it smaller. Okay? Oh, and by the way, my brush that's up here, there's a hardness level. I always use 0%. When I'm painting something, I want it to be, I wanna fade everything really nicely together. I don't want any hard lines. So I always use 0% hardness on the brush.
I'm kind of getting this, I'm trying to get it pasting my mind with,
Hey,
control
Brad.
I and all that, that's what I'm trying to get.
Hey, Brad.
Yep.
I want to take a stab at a different way of explaining what you're doing. If we were to use paper, we're stacking these sheets on top of each other and we're cutting holes in certain parts to see down through them. Does that make sense?
Well, that's exactly what you're doing, yeah. If you drew something on a white piece of paper, okay, and then you put another piece of paper on top of it, if it were black, you wouldn't see down through the paper, right? It has to be white. Let's say it's a transparent piece of paper. It has to be transparent for me to see the paper below. That's exactly what it is. You're stacking things together. And if it's white, I'm seeing what's on that layer. And if it's black, I'm hiding what's on that layer. It's as simple as that. Black conceals and white reveals. Black conceals, white reveals. If you remember that, you'll get this, okay? All right, let's do that same one again just for fun. I'm gonna take this mask and drag it to the trash. Okay, so we're back to just the jumping bread. So here it is again. We're gonna take our brush.
You have to mask first, right?
Yeah, and I do have to mask a layer mask here. I add the layer mask. And at the moment, I need to conceal the bread. Now, I could do this. Let me make it black. I could just randomly guess where the bread is, and I would paint with white. I could switch it and just randomly guess where he is. That's hard. I don't need to guess. I can just do it the other way. I can hit Control I. I can see the bread. I know exactly where to paint. So I'm going to grab my black. This is my 2 colors down here, my white and my black. I'm going to grab my black color. I've got my brush. And because I'm painting in black, I'm doing what? I'm concealing. I'm concealing the bread. So we just paint the bread right out. He's concealed. Okay? Now again, we've done the exact opposite of what I want to do, right? I want to reveal that bread and hide the rest of the bridge. And to do that, we're going to hit what key? Control I. Exactly. We hit Control I. 3 breads on a bridge. So every time I cut a hole in these papers, like you're talking about, I'm looking all the way down, all the way back to the first paper. I can cut as many holes as I want in all the different papers. It's a composite of all the different sheets of paper that we're stacking up. It's a good analogy for it. What happens if we do the same technique, and this isn't going to work, but let's say we add a layer mask, okay? And I just want to paint out this bread like we've been doing the first 2 or 3 times. I want to paint out the bread. If I do it that way, the problem is I see the other bread, right? That doesn't work. These breads cross right over each other. So we can't have that loose of a mask. I can normally get away with this nice feathered brush, paint out whatever I want, but this has to have a very concise mask because the breads are over the top of each other, okay?
Can we see what that would look like if you did it that way?
Yeah, if I paint it out this way, I'm gonna paint out the whole bread like we did before. And because of that, I've got part of a jumping bread and part of the bread on the right. This bread overlaps 2 other breads.
So inverse it.
So if I inverse it,
So you can't use move to do
I get this mess, right? I can't get away with a loose mask like I've been doing. I have to have a very concise mask for this to work. So,
And you just can't move to, or you.
nope, I can't do it that way. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to put the layer mask back to all black. And you do that by pressing Alt-Delete, or you can edit fill with black. There's two ways to do it. I just press Alt-Delete, it's a keyboard shortcut. It puts the mask back to black. Okay. So, because I have to have a concise mask, I could go in there and like hit the magnifying glass and make it really, really big and paint super meticulously over that brad. It's one way, really slow and bad way to do it, but I could paint it out really, 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 really carefully. Another thing I can do is I can ask Photoshop to help me. I want it to help me make a better mask that's automated. So I'm going to come up here to this tool here, and it's called the Object Selection Tool. And basically it's just saying I want to select an object. What object do I want to select? I want to select, this brad. Oops. Okay. I want Photoshop to help me select that brad, rather than painting them out, okay? So all I have to do is drag a big box over the brad. It doesn't even have to be very precise. See how I missed part of the jacket there? Photoshop's pretty smart. When I do it, even if I'm close, it's gonna say, what object is in that box that looks like a person. It's gonna try to select that person. And there you go, it's given me a pretty good mask. So it's, rather than painting that myself, that would have taken probably an hour to do it properly, the AI and Photoshop has given me a very good mask. If you look closely,
Correct.
you can see here, real quick, that it's not perfect. See the area around the hat? It's not perfect. We'll fix it in just a minute, but what's the question?
I was saying, when you did it, you selected that, I saw that the tree was in the way, so when you do that, are you gonna move it or are you gonna do it a certain way? Will that tree be there also when you do it?
Which tree are you talking about?
Or that branch, whatever, down the middle leg, it's the branch.
Down here?
Yeah.
Well, that can stay, and the reason it can stay is because on the underlying layer, that same tree is there. So I don't have to have a perfect selection on the brad. I'm seeing that tree. If I see right through to the tree underline, it's this color. I'll zoom in a little bit. So you can see where Photoshop missed, right? So we're simply going to take the brush tool, and we can just paint. I won't do this too precisely tonight, but I can just paint with my brush the part that Photoshop didn't do too well. Now, if I paint too much, I can just switch my colors and kind of fix. That's good enough for now. So I tweaked the mask that Photoshop missed just a little bit with a paintbrush. There's other ways to do this, but you can always just paint the mask back in where you need it. So once I've done my painting, I turn off that tool. Now you see that my mask is better. You're gonna see that a couple more times too. So we'll go through that again.
Hey Brad, there's one other way that, probably gonna give you the same problem with the hat. But if you go up to select on the top, go down, and it says subject. Go to subject, down under focus area. Now, it might, because this is kind of, well, you already have something selected, so it's gonna be confusing, you gotta turn the selection on. But that select subject will also go in and it'll select the subject so that you don't have to do that. Now, this
Let's
is.
do it.
Yeah, you can try it. Well, you can, yeah, that's it.
So select subject here has missed part of the pants and it had the same problem on the hat.
Yeah.
Both are essentially trying to do the same thing. The object is looking for a subject.
Yeah.
Select subject's looking for a subject. You'll often find that the masks aren't perfect. They're pretty good most of the time, but they're not perfect. So here's my history palette. If I just want to go back to my selection, I just go one up. I just undid that. So I'm back to where I was before. That's my fixed mask. So let me delete this layer mask real quick. Okay. If you have something pre-selected, like this brad, we let the computer do most of it, and it's pre-selected, okay? If I add a layer mask while something's already selected, what it's gonna do is automatically fill the white and the black in for me. Let me just do it. When I click it, it automatically, let's look at the mask. It automatically put in the black, and it left the Brad white. So, the Brad is white, he's doing what? Is he revealing or concealing? He's revealing, the black is
Conceal.
It looks cool in black.
Okay. And so, because I fixed that mask, I didn't paint too well fixing it, it's pretty good. You know, if I spend another minute on it, I'd have it perfect. But we masked it pretty good. If you've zoomed in and you want to get back to your regular view, quick shortcut is Control 0. Control 0 always goes back to your full picture. All right, we got 4 Brads on a bridge. Let's look at Brad number 5. Okay. Brad number 5, he doesn't appear to be overlapping at all, right? It looks like we've got space for Brad number 5. So we're gonna go back to the simple way of doing Brad number 5, the same way we did the original Brads. We're gonna, yeah, let's walk through it. We put in the layer mask, right? Oops. Make sure you're on the layer. And it's white, so the white is doing, it's revealing, right? And I need to conceal the Brad, so I'm gonna paint with black, correct. And I'm just gonna grab a brush, and again, the right bracket makes it bigger, the left bracket makes it smaller. I'm just simply gonna paint out the Brad in black. We've concealed the Brad. I need to flip the whole thing, right? Control I, that's exactly right. Control I, 5 Brads on a bridge. All right? 2 more Brads to go, same stuff. Let's look at Brad number 6. Okay. Now, I'm trying to see if he, I'm seeing if he interacts with any other Brads. I can't really tell. So we'll just assume that he's gonna interact with other Brads. Let's do it the AI way, okay? So we'll turn the layer on. I'm gonna grab what tool? What tool will help me automatically select that Brad? Object selection.
Don't you gotta make the mask?
Exactly. Object selection. And we're just gonna draw a box over the Brad and let Photoshop have at the mask.
Oh, I'm gonna do it that way.
All right, so if you look at the mask that it's done here, it's missed my fingers, right? And it's missed my shoe. It's probably similar in tone to the wood. So it missed my shoe, right? So we're gonna make a little quick paint adjustment to the mask. I'm gonna come down here to my masking tool, back to the same thing you saw before. I'm gonna grab a black brush. And this doesn't have to be precise here at all. I just, or I need a white brush. I'm gonna paint my hand in. And it doesn't have to be precise again because the stuff around my hand is the same in every layer. So it doesn't have to be precise here. I paint it in my hand. And I'm gonna paint in my shoe that it missed. All right. And we'll turn that back off. So I'll just tweak the mask real quick. You know, it took me 20 seconds to fix the little problems Photoshop left me. Now I've got a pre-made selection, and I need to do what now to use that? I want to create a what specifically? A layer mask, right? Now when I create that layer mask, again, because it has a pre-selection, it's going to automatically fill in the black and the white for me, right? So if I come down to my layer mask and press it, 6 Brads on a bridge. Okay? And again, if you hold down the Alt key and click right on the mask, we can go see the mask that's, you know, revealing only the Brad. Everything else in black is peeping down to the layers below. Right? So if we're on this layer mask and I hit Control I back and forth, I'm just going to see that, you know, I can either see through it all the layers below or I can't. here's Brad 7. And Brad 7, it looks like he's gonna conflict with another Brad, right? So we'll let AI do it again for us. So we'll go to our object selection tool. We'll drag a box around the Brad. And it's actually done pretty well. Again, the stuff like between my legs there, it's the same in every picture. So I don't have to worry about masking that out. It doesn't matter what level I see down to, it's the same branches, right? Okay, so that's selected pretty good. I don't think I need any tweaks at all. And now I'm gonna do what? A layer mask, that's exactly correct. Layer mask, it automatically makes it black and white. And there is brand number 7 on a bridge. You got them all.
So Brad, would that work the same way if you were adding, you had the grid and you were gonna add another person, but they weren't there when you were taking those pictures, right?
Come back
Well, we're gonna do that next if we get to it, yeah. That's taking something from a different photo entirely,
Right.
and putting it in, we'll do that. Yeah, the simplest way to start is to leave your tripod steady, it just makes one stamp of all of it. Now, the command for this is Control-Alt-Shift-E, right? Control-Alt-Shift-E, let me do it. Control-Alt-Shift-E, it just makes a stamp. If I were to turn off all these layers now that I've been working with, I'm only seeing my one stamp layer. So I can save that out as a JPEG or TIFF or whatever. Also, if you have your stamp layer like this, I'll often apply effects at this point. Now, I won't go too much into this, but one of my favorite plugins is from a company called Anthropix. I'll go through this another night if RJ ever wants me to, but Anthropix Smart Photo Editor. I love this little piece of software, it's $30. And what it is all these photographers upload all their effects, and there's literally thousands of them. All the photographer community is uploading these things and making these really cool things to help each other, all for $30. So, real quick, if I click on like the effects gallery, and because it's got thousands in here, I can give it some pointers. I might say that this is a portrait if it's a portrait. I might say it's a landscape. I can say, do I want this to be dramatic, artistic, realistic? We'll put dramatic. And so I can just start looking through all the effects that photographers have donated to the community. And what's cool about this is I'll often see stuff that I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I never thought of that. It'll give me ideas. I'll be like, like here's some black and white thing. I can just play with that one. If I don't want that one, I can look at some other. Some other one.
That's his group.
And a lot of these are customizable too. So once you find an effect you like, you can go play with the light and the sliders and really, really tweak that effect to your liking. So that's how I finish my photo. I make a stamp layer, and I might look